We got the press secretary talking about why no one from America came to France for the world leaders the other day. We got Eddie Henry fixing to pound this dude. Check it out.
There's no arguing that.
You said several times we should have sent someone higher than the ambassador. I remember
With a higher profile than the ambassador, that's correct.
Question, why didn't you?
Well, Ed, I've sort of tried to describe to you exactly the situation here. That we're talking about a march that came together with essentially 36 hours notice, and a march that occurred outdoors with an obviously very large number of people who participated. We are mindful anytime the president goes to a public place, or the vice president for that matter, that we don't want to, or at least we want to try to mitigate the impact that the security precautions would have on those who are participating in this public event. And there's no doubt that had the president or vice president on this very short time frame gone to participate in this event that took place outdoors with more than 1 million people in attendance, that it would have significantly impacted the ability of those who are attending the march to participate in the way that they did yesterday.
Everyone in this room acknowledges the president's safety is of utmost. It's not an issue at all. Of course his security is important, and you don't want to detract from the event. How do you explain then that the Israeli Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, he made it there? He's a huge target, obviously, unfortunately.
Well, I will allow the Israelis to discuss what security precautions they have in place.
Dozens of leaders from countries that are very important. They're not America, but very important.
I'm not suggesting that they are. Ed, you should talk to them about the security precautions they have in place. You've been to enough. Look, you've been to enough events where the president.
And that's where a liberal turns it personal every time. Excuse me. There's no excuse why the United States could not have a world leader in France. And France is supposed to be our ally. That's kind of like your mom passing away and your best buddy not showing up for a funeral. I mean, that's not cool. You know?
Is attending a conference or a summit with other world leaders. And I think that you have seen firsthand that the security precautions that are in place for the President of the United States, this has been true of previous presidents too, are sometimes more onerous than the precautions that are put in place for other world leaders.
In the Mandela funeral, there were dozens and dozens of leaders. The American security might be more, but it comes up in short notice. Unfortunately, Mandela dies, and you wanted to be there. You made it. Well, how did that come together?
The difference with President Mandela is that there had been discussions that have been ongoing for, frankly, a number of years about the ceremony that would take place in the event of his death. And so there was a much clearer, that's right, but there was a much clearer a plan that was already in place that could be followed for executing that event on a short time frame. There obviously was nothing in place because I don't think anybody contemplated the kind of attack that we saw in Paris.
You said the president personally wishes he would have liked to have gone. Why didn't he? What was he doing on Sunday? We haven't gotten an accounting of what the president did Sunday.
Yeah, I haven't spoken to the president about what he did yesterday. So.
You obviously prepared for this, and you've said many times, most transparent administration. What was the president doing?
I guess I prepared for a lot of questions today, but I did not prepare for a question based on what the president was actually doing yesterday.
Okay. Attorney General Eric Holder was in Paris, and they put out a statement, his office, saying that he had very important meetings. No one would counter that. The counter-terror meetings were very important. One would assume that the French officials who attended those meetings, some of them anyway, probably went to this rally. And the Attorney General's office says that he had to get back to Washington on Sunday afternoon. That was one reason why he couldn't make the rally. Why couldn't the Attorney General? He was in that city, so there's no issue of security was already in place. How could he not attend?
And I'm not aware of the details of the Attorney General's schedule for yesterday. But if you were asking whether or not somebody like the Attorney General should have attended or should have been asked by the White House to attend, what I am telling you is that, yes, we believe somebody with a higher profile should have been asked to attend.
What about this rally in D.C.? There was a rally, I believe it was a march from the museum to the French embassy. We should note the president did go to the French embassy last week, obviously. He signed a condolence book. He expressed his solidarity with the French people. But I understand the president is probably not going to go marching through the streets of D.C. But the White House chief of staff, the vice president, a cabinet secretary somewhere, how come you didn't have someone in D.C. at a rally?
Yeah. Well, Ed, I know that there were a number of administration officials that did participate in that rally. I think a lot of them are in that march, and I think a lot of them participated, would have done so even if they weren't members of the administration. But I can tell you, Ed, that for all of this talk, there is no doubt, and there should be no doubt, about this commitment of the administration and the commitment of the American people to standing shoulder to shoulder with our allies in France as they deal with the aftermath of these terrible terrorist attacks and as they continue the fight for the kinds of values that we hold so dear on both sides of the Atlantic. Okay? Justice.